footage has emerged proving WNBA referees definitely have an agenda against Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever.
The silence was deafening. Whispers turned to screams. The WNBA just pulled the trigger on something truly unthinkable, something that sends tremors through the entire league, threatening to shatter its newfound momentum. Their commissioner, out. But that's just the very first crack in a rapidly widening fissure. What they did next, behind locked doors and in hushed phone calls, is about to leave every single one of you absolutely speechless, because sources are now leaking a name, a towering legend of the game, someone with championship rings, Hall of Fame status, and an iron will, who is allegedly stepping in to clean up this absolute unprecedented mess. And trust me, this isn't just a mere replacement. This is the biggest, most audacious shakeup in WNBA history. We're about to peel back the layers, breaking down every egregious missed call, every piece of the raw, unadulterated drama, and we'll reveal the shockwaves that are poised to redefine women's basketball forever. You genuinely will not believe who's rumored to be taking over the helm.
Just like that, Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA, the team owners, the Players Association, in the split of an instance, all of it can change. In a split instance, all of it can change. If this injury does anything, it should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear.
It all began with a game that wasn't merely a contest, it was a full-blown catastrophe. The Indiana Fever versus the New York Liberty. This was slated to be a marquee event, a true showcase for the league. Playoff intensity gripping a sold-out crowd, and the electrifying Caitlin Clark, the league's generational talent, going head-to-head with the reigning champions. It was the perfect storm for a national television spectacle, a chance to prove the WNBA had truly arrived, but instead it quickly morphed into a blatant referee show, and not in a good way. From the opening whistle, something felt deeply, disturbingly off, almost predetermined. Caitlin Clark, the league's most magnetic draw, seemed to get physically assaulted, hacked, and grabbed almost every single time she touched the ball. Her defenders allowed an almost unbelievable level of aggressive, uncalled physicality.
Off right now, really didn't feel like making this video because what I just witnessed displayed on CBS was horrendous. These WNBA referees need to be fined. Something needs to happen. I mean, the lack of calls against the New York Liberties was at an all-time high, bro. I mean, if this was an NBA game, a lot of players would have been fouled out. A lot of players would have been in deep foul trouble. The way Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever was getting fouled, it was just hard to watch at times. Now, granted, they rallied back from a 15-1 lead. From a 15-point deficit. But guys, I'm telling you right now, the referees are the storyline in this one, bro. And I told y'all, I stressed to y'all this offseason, I told y'all what it was. I say, if Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever be successful, the referees is going to try to derail it. And that's exactly what happened in this game, bro. They derailed them from beating the New York Liberty.
Then came the jaw-dropping moment with Lexi Hull, whistled for a foul that quite literally did not happen, a ghost foul. It was a call so baffling, so utterly nonsensical, it forced you to pause, rewind the broadcast, and ask, are these refs even watching the same game we are? Is there an agenda here? The frustration wasn't just palpable, it was a raw, visceral emotion boiling over as Clark and her teammate Sophie Cunningham were left absolutely furious, chasing down an official after the buzzer, desperately seeking an explanation, any explanation for the sheer injustice. But the ref, cold and dismissive, simply turned his back, walked away, refusing to engage. In that agonizing moment, you could feel it in your gut. This wasn't merely a tough loss, this was a critical breaking point for a league teetering precariously on the precipice of its own credibility.
I am always dumbfounded by how many times they call fouls on screeners and how many illegal screens are set in the WNBA.
That singular abysmal game wasn't some isolated incident. It was a glaring symptom of a much deeper, more insidious, more troubling issue plaguing the league. Let's break down the numbers, and they simply do not lie. The New York Liberty, the supposed beneficiaries of this selective officiating, shot a staggering 32 free throws in that highly contentious contentious game. The Fever, a paltry, almost insulting 15. That's more than double the attempts in a contest ultimately decided by mere possessions. This isn't just a statistical anomaly, it's a direct reflection of the outcome, a silent indictment of the officiating. And here's the kicker, the chilling detail that truly exposes the systemic nature of the problem. This wasn't a one-off.
Screening action down low. Clark has to get open. 1 second left.
Foul right there. Boom.
Clark doesn't get the shot off. Cloud locks her up. And New York comes into Indianapolis and takes the checkered flag.
Now, look, Natasha Cloud, and I made a video yesterday. I told y'all Natasha Cloud could possibly be the reason. I hope not, but she could possibly be the reason Caitlin Clark.
Through the early critical stretch of the season, the Indiana Fever found themselves at a crushing -31 in free throw differential. That's not just poor luck. That's a blazing red flag the size of Madison Square Garden, screaming systemic bias and a clear disregard for certain players. Caitlin Clark has been absorbing more uncalled, brutal contact than any rookie in recent memory should ever realistically endure. Remember the sickening moment when Kennedy Carter blindsided her off the ball? It was a hit so brutal, so violent, so outside the bounds of basketball, it belonged in the NFL, not on a professional basketball court. And what did the refs call it? A common foul. No flagrant, no technical, just a casual shrug of the shoulders, dismissing the clear danger. That isn't just poor officiating, that's actively putting player safety at grave risk, jeopardizing the very stars, the very reason who are fueling the league's unprecedented explosive growth. This wasn't about individual mistakes, it was about a pattern, a system that favored some and endangered others.
There could be an NBA referee scout at any high school game. And I know that was something that was going viral on Twitter when we were talking about the referee.
After the public outcry reached a fever pitch, after video clips of the egregious calls went massively viral, shaming the league on every social media platform, the WNBA announced that the referees from that highly controversial Liberty Fever game had been suspended. It sounded like accountability, a surprisingly rare move in the WNBA's history, but insiders, those deep within the league's inner circles, quickly began to shut that narrative down. This wasn't the commissioner's decision, not really. According to multiple highly credible reports, Cathy Engelbert, the league's top executive, didn't proactively lead that decision. In fact, directly after the suspensions were announced, she was quietly, privately asked to step away.
Indiana Fever star rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls. Now, they also brought up Game 5 of the WNBA Finals. We actually made a whole video about that as well because there were some suspect calls at the end of that game, and a lot of people felt like the WNBA Finals were actually rigged because Cathy Engelbert was also wearing a dress that had the New York City skyline on it, so there was just a bunch of things that seemed kind of...
This wasn't merely a slap on the wrist for some errant officials. This was a full-on political power play, a high-stakes chess match playing out in the shadowy corridors of power. Executives and team owners, fed up with months of deafening silence from the top, frustrated by a perceived lack of proactive leadership and a growing crisis of trust, decided it was time to act decisively. And when Caitlin Clark, the most high-profile rookie since maybe ever, a voice that resonated with millions, started speaking out, it served as the final, critical push, shoving the situation over the edge into an irreversible crisis. Some within the league are saying Engelbert was thrown under the bus, a sacrificial lamb in a rapidly escalating public relations nightmare. Others argue she'd lost the locker room, the respect of the players, coaches, and even the team leadership long ago. Either way, the commissioner was out, and the WNBA was officially in emergency damage control mode, desperately scrambling to regain control of a narrative that was quickly, violently spinning out of their grasp. This dramatic internal strife, this deep-seated frustration, didn't suddenly materialize last week. It has roots stretching back well into last season, festering silently beneath the surface. Flashback to the WNBA Finals just last year, the New York Liberty clinched the championship, a truly talented team, deserving champions. But then, during the sacred trophy presentation, a moment unfolded that would haunt the league's optics for months, igniting fierce conspiracy theories. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert walked onto the court, not in neutral professional attire, but wearing a dress in unmistakable blue and black, undeniably the Liberty's team colors. Adding even more fuel to the raging conspiracy fire, many viewers noted a subtle pattern on her dress that seemed to depict the distinct New York City skyline. Fans watching at home lost their collective minds. Was it intentional? Was it merely an unfortunate coincidence? Who knows for sure? But in the cutthroat world of professional sports, optics matter, perception is reality, and to thousands of increasingly suspicious, infuriated fans, that moment solidified what they'd been whispering for months. The league plays favorites, that the entire system might be compromised. Since that moment, every single controversial call, every seemingly inexplicable officiating decision that overwhelmingly favored the Liberty has only added more volatile fuel to that already raging inferno of doubt and accusation. And after that abysmal Caitlin Clark fever game, that smoldering fire became an uncontrolled, all-consuming blaze, threatening to devour the league's credibility entirely. The WNBA's desperate, belated attempt to calm the storm by suspending those referees backfired spectacularly. Tragically, instead of restoring even an ounce of trust, it triggered an even deeper, more profound wave of doubt. Fans demanded answers, furiously asking, why now? Why only after the outrage reached a fever pitch? Why only after the video clips went massively viral and made the league a global laughingstock? It didn't feel like the league was leading. It felt like it was desperately reacting, constantly on its heels, forever playing catch up. And that, in the high stakes world of professional sports, is an incredibly dangerous, unstable place for any league to be, especially one on the very cusp of true, widespread mainstream relevance. Meanwhile, despite the chaos at the top, the Indiana Fever players were playing their hearts out, delivering electric, captivating performances night after night. Fans were packing arenas like never before, selling out tickets faster than ever, buying jerseys, glued to their screens for every moment. The media, which once notoriously ignored women's basketball, was finally paying unprecedented attention, broadcasting games, pushing headlines, analyzing every play. But at the very top, at the highest levels of leadership, it simply felt like no one had a coherent plan. No one was truly steering the ship through these turbulent waters. And that brings us to the real, undeniable core issue at hand. This league, the WNBA, is currently experiencing unprecedented, almost dizzying growth. But it's growing at a rate far faster than it's evolving, faster than its infrastructure, its leadership, its officiating can realistically support. And that widening gap, that chasm between boundless potential and fundamental preparation, it's starting to show glaringly. Would any of this unprecedented drama, this furious backlash, this existential crisis truly be happening if Caitlin Clark wasn't in the league? Probably not. Clark isn't just another rookie. She's a ratings magnet, a marketing goldmine, a cultural phenomenon, a force of nature. She's filling arenas to absolute capacity. She's single-handedly boosting TV deals to historic, unimaginable numbers. And she's bringing millions of new, curious, passionate fans into the fold. And with that blinding, unrelenting spotlight comes an equally intense, unforgiving scrutiny. When Clark gets hit with a blatant foul and there's no whistle, it's not just a missed call, it's trending across every single social media platform, igniting furious debates. When she's pulled down, shoved, and flat out hacked in a close game, and the refs inexplicably swallow their whistles, Twitter explodes with outrage, accusations of bias, and demands for justice. This is precisely what happens when your league finally achieves mainstream attention, when it finally enters the national conversation, when the whole world is watching. Every single mistake becomes magnified exponentially. Every no call becomes a damning headline. Every perceived injustice screams from the digital rooftops. And that's precisely why protecting your stars, your most valuable assets, isn't optional in this new unforgiving era. It's an absolute, non-negotiable mandatory requirement for survival. The league, tragically, failed to understand this fundamental truth, and the consequences were dire. The leadership vacuum and tone deafness extended far beyond the court, spilling into a full-blown media catastrophe that further eroded what little public trust remained. During a recent, highly publicized interview, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert was directly asked about the toxic, venomous nature of fan behavior on social media, specifically the insidious racism, pervasive misogyny, and blatant homophobia aimed at not only Caitlin Clark, but also Angel Reese and other star players who are captivating the league with their talent and personalities. Her answer, it was a stunning, almost unbelievable pivot. Instead of unequivocally condemning the hate, instead of defending her players, she pivoted directly to marketing. She astonishingly called it a bird magic moment, loosely referring to the historic rivalry that elevated the NBA to global prominence. She actually said rivalries were good for business, and even suggested that people caring, even if their expressions were filled with vile hate, meant the league was somehow relevant. The backlash was immediate, universal, and utterly fierce. Terry Jackson, the executive director of the WNBPA, slammed the comments, leaving absolutely no room for misinterpretation. She stated it plainly: there is absolutely no place in sport or in life for the vile hate, racist language, and misogynistic attacks our players are facing. Star players like Brianna Stewart, Kelsey Plum, and Aja Wilson were incredibly vocal, openly expressing their disbelief and disgust. They publicly stated that Engelbert missed the moment, that she had a golden silver platter opportunity to denounce hate, and instead she tragically fumbled it. Instead of protecting the league's core values, its very soul, she chose to protect the brand, the bottom line. The damage was done. The trust, once fragile, was now hanging by the thinnest of threads, threatening to snap at any moment. A complete, radical leadership rebuild, it was painfully clear, was no longer an option. It was an urgent existential necessity. And if you thought the league's cascading woes couldn't possibly get any worse, a new bombshell dropped, a devastating piece of news directly linked to the unchecked physicality and chronic lack of protection afforded to its biggest star. It happened during that brutal game against the Liberty, the one where Caitlin Clark was getting bumped, shoved, and flat out hacked every single time she touched the ball. A constant, violent onslaught. No whistle, no protection, just more punishment, game after relentless, grueling game. After that particularly arduous contest, Clark told the team her leg was hurting. They immediately got her checked out, fearing the worst. The MRI confirmed it, a quad strain. And this isn't some lingering, minor issue from the preseason, a nagging tightness she was playing through. This is new, a fresh, acute injury, a direct, undeniable consequence of the physical toll and constant, uncalled hits she's endured. Coach Stephanie White made it abundantly clear they're going to be incredibly careful with her. Real careful, because they know perhaps better than anyone how much she means to this team, how much she means to this entire burgeoning league. Look, Caitlin's been playing through discomfort since training camp, even missing her first preseason game because of some tightness. But now it's serious. Now they have to shut her down, allowing her to heal properly, fully. This is a massive blow, not just for the Fever, who rely on her dynamic playmaking and scoring, but for the whole WNBA. When Caitlin's not on the court, the league feels different, undeniably diminished. She brings the unparalleled energy, the electric attention, the viral highlights, the sheer unpredictability that draws in millions. And without her, even for a short period, you can already feel the distinct drop-off in excitement, in engagement, in the sheer magnetic pull. So now the question hangs heavy over the WNBA. How do the Fever bounce back without their undeniable leader? Who steps up to fill that immense void? And perhaps most critically, can the league truly maintain this unprecedented, fragile momentum without its biggest, most magnetic star actively on the court? The stakes have never been higher, the future never more uncertain. All of this swirling chaos, this escalating crisis, this desperate need for decisive action brings us back to the name that's got absolutely everyone buzzing, the whispers spreading like wildfire through text messages, secure group chats, and hushed front office corridors across the entire league. Who exactly is stepping in to clean up this unprecedented, monumental mess? Who possesses the guts, the sheer clout, and the visionary leadership to steer the WNBA out of this deep abyss of controversy and back into the spotlight for all the right reasons? For its talent, its athleticism, its pure basketball. Multiple highly reliable sources indicate the WNBA isn't just searching for a simple replacement. They're executing a major power move, a strategic masterstroke designed to fundamentally change the entire narrative, to rebuild trust from the ground up. They're looking to bring in a true game changer, someone who doesn't just understand basketball but lives and breathes it, who has dedicated their entire life to the game, someone who commands immediate, unquestioning respect the very moment they walk into any room. And the name that's leaked, Larry Bird. Yes, you heard that right, that Larry Bird, the Indiana legend, the undisputed NBA Hall of Famer. The man with ice in his veins, a legendary competitor, and a basketball IQ that fundamentally changed the way the game is played and understood. He's not just a former player, he's a cultural icon, a straight shooter who famously built championship teams with the Indiana Pacers, and who understands intrinsically what true leadership looks like, both on and off the court. And if this rumor, these seismic whispers, end up being true, the WNBA isn't just trying to patch up a PR nightmare. They're attempting to shift the entire narrative, to reset the entire league's trajectory. This isn't about mere damage control, it's about starting fresh, with a face fans already know, already implicitly trust, and already deeply respect. Because let's be brutally honest, nothing says we mean serious business like putting Larry Bird, the legendary hick from French Lick, in charge of fixing the league's image, its integrity, and its future. Seriously, take a second and truly picture that. Larry Bird, the quiet, relentless force, as commissioner of the WNBA. This isn't just some glossy, empty PR stunt dreamt up by a marketing team. This is Larry freaking Bird, a guy who's done it all, truly seen it all, MVPs, multiple championships, built winning teams from the ground up, led franchises with an unwavering hand, and earned the respect of just about everyone in the entire basketball world, from players to coaches to owners. He brings an undeniable, unshakable level of clout, no doubt about that. But more than that, he brings a kind of profound presence, a no-nonsense integrity that the league desperately, critically needs right now. He's not going to be some quiet figurehead who simply signs papers and nods politely at meetings, content to remain in the shadows. Larry Bird is a basketball lifer, a guy who's been in the trenches, who's seen the game from every conceivable angle, who's bled for the sport. He knows what it means to grind, to fight for every possession, to overcome seemingly insurmountable adversity. He knows instinctively how to lead by example, with quiet strength and unwavering conviction. And crucially, he knows how to truly listen to players, to coaches, to the passionate, often frustrated fans. He understands fairness because he's played through unfair calls and witnessed injustice firsthand, often against himself. He understands greatness because he's lived it, he's defined it. He understands what a league should truly stand for, what its core values should be. And he's not afraid to call out what's broken, what needs fixing, what needs to be ripped up and started again. If Larry Bird takes over, you can expect fundamental, radical changes, and not a year from now, but immediately. Stricter officiating standards? Absolutely. Clearer, more consistent rules and enforcement across the board? Definitely. A real, actionable, comprehensive plan to protect players from unnecessary hits and dirty plays to ensure their long-term health and safety. You better believe it. With his playing background, he'd demand it. And above all, true, unyielding accountability at the very top from himself and everyone beneath him. No more hiding behind vague statements or cowardly dodging the hard questions. Larry Bird doesn't do politics. He does basketball. So yeah, imagine that. Larry Bird walking into that office, picking up the phone, and letting the entire league know it's a new day in the WNBA, and things for everyone involved are about to get very, very real. So what do you think? Is Larry Bird the shocking answer the WNBA so desperately needs to fix its broken officiating, its leadership crisis, and its rapidly eroding trust? Or is this just another wild, improbable rumor in a league that seems to be spinning dangerously out of control, threatening to squander its golden moment? Let us know your thoughts, your theories, your outrage in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button if you found this illuminating, hit subscribe to stay ahead of the curve, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any breaking updates, any seismic shifts. Because if this Larry Bird rumor is real, this WNBA season just went from chaotic to undeniably historically unforgettable.